What's up, guys? This is C, and I'm here today with another review for Love and Marriage Huntsville. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, the episode starts where it left off last week with Melody coming down to Black Cigar Lounge to confront Marceau about some of the things that she's been hearing or some of the information that has gotten out to the blogs or media. So she comes into the construction site because they're currently working on, turning it into, I believe it was like a laundromat or cleaners or something at one point, and they're revamping it and they're turning it into a cigar lounge. So when she comes in, she sees Kimmie's son, who is helping out with the project, and Marceau. She greets, Kimmie's son and kind of chops it up a little bit with him to find out what he's been up to, what he's been doing. And they eventually excuse him because she's ready to get down to business. So she kind of confronts Marceau about what she's been hearing about them, kind of playing dirty by, bringing parents or moms into the situation. And by that, she's talking about this so-called sex tape that Marceau says that he may or may not have of her mom. So she is like angry. She is pissed. She comes in and she's screaming and yelling. And it's like this real aggressive slash passive fight because she's being very aggressive because she's upset, as anybody would be if somebody's out there saying, things about their mom. And he's being really passive and yet aggressive. He's smiling and kind of, you know, this, he's trying to, clap back at her, but he's smiling and just really like pissing her off. And so then she talks about the tax information that was leaked. He claims he didn't have anything to do with that and that, where's her proof? And she then talks about him filing a police report on Martell. And so she's kind of, going to fight with words, as she said last episode that she's so well at doing. And so they kind of go back and forth with one another. And eventually, she leaves. He was expecting her to apologize for Martell's actions, and she didn't feel that she needed to, which, I mean, that's between the two of them, between Marceau and Martell. So I wouldn't expect for Melody to feel like she had to apologize, but she said what she had to say. She left, and that was kind of where that ended. And so then we go to Tisha and Marceau. They recently downsized. They moved into a transition home because they are having their dream home built. And I believe in seasons before they were in a townhouse or something. It was a very beautiful home, but you could tell that that was just kind of like a starter for them, and it wasn't something that they planned on settling, with or raising a family in. So they have moved into this home temporarily, and Tisha is wanting, Marceau to help her, get some things cleaned up and to help, further get settled into this space. Well, of course, Marceau being Marceau, he doesn't necessarily want to do it, but he then brings up the run-in that he had with Melody. And Tisha's kind of, bewildered, or she's just kind of confused as to why Melody would show up to their establishment when she had her escorted away from her skincare event. And he just kind of forewarns her and kind of lets her know that, they're saying that we have done this, that, or the third. And so she's just like, well, I don't understand why, she's attacking us about it, and we didn't do it, or at least they're saying they didn't do it. I mean, you just don't know. And then throughout this conversation, that kind of brings Tisha to the point of talking about how she's noticed that Kimmie and Melody are spending time together, and she's not sure, about what goes on when they're spending time together. So she wants to get with Kimmie and spend time with her, because she's kind of feeling like, Kimmie is spending time with Melody, but should be spending time with, her instead. So Marceau is kind of like, well, I don't understand why, that's a concern of yours. You need to stop worrying about that. But, Tisha is like, no, we have to get with her. I have to get with her and spend some time with her. So what I'll do is, we didn't get a chance to celebrate her birthday, so we'll get her and Maurice over to the house, and we'll kind of celebrate her birthday here. And so Marceau's not too thrilled about that, because he feels like the space is too small to have a gathering, but they're going to do it anyway. And you can tell around this time in production that, I guess, COVID is kind of, halting a lot of production, because they're now doing their confessionals from home. And even in the first episode, well, last episode, I would say, you could tell like they were still doing confessionals, in a studio, but now they've been switched to being at home. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season unfolds, with them having to now do things a little differently. But I mean, everybody else, reality show wise, has found a way to do it. I mean, it does look a little different, but they still get their point across, and the sound and the picture is just a little different, but it still works. So we'll see how that goes. Now we then go on to Kimmie. We finally get to see Kimmie, who is at home. And by the way, this episode was called Kimmie in the Middle. And this episode did emphasize how she felt like she was being pulled at both ends, because she's the neutral party in the middle, and then you've got the Holtz on one side, and then you got the Scotts on the other side, and she's kind of being tugged at by both parties. But anyway, we get to her, and she's sitting at her dining room table with her laptop, and her sister-in-law comes over, and I believe that she is Maurice and Marceau's sister. I believe so. I'm not 100% sure, but they get together, and Kimmie kind of tells her, about what she's wanting to do for the community. With it being election season, she wants to put together a voting drive, and not necessarily a voters registration drive. She wants to encourage people to exercise their right to vote. Those who are registered already, she wants to encourage them to go out and, use their power to vote. And they kind of reminisce, the two of them reminisce on back when they were younger, how, their parents would pull them out of school and take them to the polls, and they would stand in line with them to vote, and how much, pride they took in that, and how cool that experience was. And the sister-in-law talks about how she actually had the opportunity to meet President Clinton back when he was in office. And so, they want other people to experience, the pride and just, the dopeness in being able to go out and vote. And so what she wants to do is kind of pull together, the group, meaning the Holtz and the Scotts, she wants this to be a group effort in, encouraging people to go out to vote. With them being at odds, she knows that this will be a challenge, but she's kind of going into this, optimistic, like, this will work. And I think deep down she's hoping that them being forced to be together would kind of make, them make amends and, kind of mend these beefs that the two of them have. So we'll see how this works. And then next they go on to the Holt house, and Martell and Melody are there, and they show the kids and everything, and mom comes over, Martell's mom, she comes over to see the kids and to have lunch or dinner with them. And Melody brings up that it's one of the little girls, birthday is coming up, and she wants to have a party. And she asks her, who would you invite, or who would you like to be there? And the little girl says, well, she wants, the Scott's kids to be there. And so Martell is kind of like, well, I don't know how they're going to get there, because we're not really messing with, Tisha and Marceau at this time. So, what else you got? He's like, okay, well, she needs to pick some other kids. And so Melody feels like, okay, just because we're beefing and we're into it, we shouldn't ruin their friendship or, cause strife in their friendship, because they're young and they have nothing to do with anything that's going on. Martell don't care. He's like, no. But mom, she comes by to see the grandkids and everything. And Martell kind of uses this as an opportunity to kind of, talk to her about his dad. And she, talks about how they had it rough growing up, how she had to work 2 jobs to take care of them because dad was incarcerated and he wasn't around. And Martell asked her if she, would talk to him and encourage him to reach out to him. And she didn't want any parts of that. She's like, no, I'm not in that. Basically, you need to reach out to him yourself, because I'm not going there with that. And she's probably, accepted, okay, he was, once in our life, and he was taken away to prison, and he was not in our lives at that point. Well, he's out now. I have no hard feelings against him. He is a better person, but as far as being a dad, he was never that, and I don't really want any parts of that. I've accepted it. I've moved on. It is what it is. So now Martell, is having to reach out to his dad to kind of discuss some of his grievances with him, and one of them being, that he didn't show up to the baby shower. And that's something that I guess really hurt Martell, because he wants him to be a part of the grandchildren's lives, although he wasn't, a dad to him growing up. So we then go on to Melody and Kimmie. They kind of meet up because they hadn't seen one another since the Embrace skincare event, where she left, Kimmie, when Tisha was escorted out by security. So they get together and they kind of chop it up about what the other has kind of been up to since the last time they met. And then they address the elephant in the room. Melody felt some kind of way because Kimmie left with Tisha when she got escorted out. Well, Kimmie felt like that was a bit extreme, having, security escort her out. But she does acknowledge the fact that, it was just craziness on both sides. Tisha, probably should not have shown up, but she did show up. She showed up with good intentions, and it was kind of, bold for you to have her escorted out. And so they, acknowledge that. But then, you know, Melody just kind of makes it clear that, she understands that she's got this family and friendship on this side, which this side is going to be the Scots for y'all. And then this side is going to be the Holts. She understands that you have a life over here, but y'all are working on something over here on this side, on the Holt side, and she doesn't want the two to merge. She's perfectly fine with you being, sister and friend on this side and friend on this side, but she just prefers that you not discuss anything that's going on with y'all to them, and vice versa. And Kimmie is cool with that. She is okay with being, Switzerland. She is fine with being neutral. She doesn't want to end her friendship with Melody, and she's not going to end her friendship, with her family. So she is perfectly fine with that. And so Kimmie brings up to Melody, that she's wanting to do the voters drive or whatnot. And, Melody's like, well, that's fine and good, but I hope that she doesn't want to use this as an opportunity to be this kumbaya and kind of have us make up, because right now I'm not on that, and I don't know when I will be on that. But deep down, I think that that's what Kimmie is hoping will happen. But right now, Melody's not open to that at all. So then we get to the scene of Martell and his dad. They meet at this restaurant where it was some pretty good looking food. Dad declined, to eat, because he probably didn't want to stay that long, truth be told. He looked like, he wanted to be able to up and leave when he got ready, because he wasn't sure what he was walking into. So they come, they greet each other. And Martell just kind of gets down to business. He just kind of lets him know, I was really hurt when you didn't show up to the baby shower, because I know we didn't have this relationship when I was growing up, a father-son relationship, but I do feel like you owe your grandchildren that opportunity that you didn't give to me. And Dad's kind of like, yeah, you're right. He's just kind of, agreeing and kind of telling Martell everything that he thinks he wants to hear. And I noticed that he never once apologized. He didn't, say, well, I'm sorry I didn't show up. He didn't take accountability for, not coming or not reaching out. He just kind of he fed off of everything that Martell said. Martell was kind of telling him what he expected of him, and he just agreed and said that, he's going to be there for his grandchildren no matter what, and, how he loves them and blah, blah, blah. But something tells me that he may not. I want to believe that he will, but he just didn't seem all that sincere. And Martell just kind of told him, I don't want to be the one always reaching out, because I don't want to feel like I'm forcing you to be the granddad to them, that you should be, and that you were not to us, or the dad that you were not to us. So only time will tell how their relationship, evolves, or what happens in the future. So then we get to Melody and Martell again. They go back to them. They're at home, and they're just kind of chopping it up about small stuff about, business and whatnot. And then, Melody tells him that, she's trying to finalize plans for the little girl's birthday party. And so Martell's like, okay, well, he wants to know details, how much it's going to cost, who's going to be there, just certain stuff. And so she's, throwing numbers at him, and he's like, man, for a party, and he's kind of blown away, or blown back by the cost. And so she then tells him that, yes, I'm going to reach out to Tisha to see if she will, if they will bring the kids, because, our daughter wants them to be there. So Martell's like, no, I don't understand why you're doing that. I'm against it. I don't think you should do that. But she's going to reach out for the sake of the kids. And so he was like, well, I don't want any parts of it, whatever. He was like, don't be too, friendly or whatever he said. And then he walks out. And so she then calls Tisha, and, Tisha's on the road going somewhere, and she answers the phone, and she was kind of shocked that Melody called. And so she was kind of like, yes, and so Melody asked her if they would bring the kids to the birthday party. And so Tisha kept it real with her. She said, I'm still kind of in my feelings about how things went, or, the tension that is going on between our families right now. So I will think about it. She didn't agree. She didn't tell her yes. She told her she'll think about it. And so Melody was like, okay. And they left the conversation at that. And so we then go to the party, or the get together, that Tisha was having in honor of Kimmie's birthday. So they all show up, and Maurice and Kimmie and Kimmie's son, they show up, and they all kind of greet one another. Marceau and Tisha, they all kind of chop it up for a while, and then there's a ring at the door, and they come in, and it's Tisha's mom. And now you can tell when Tisha's mom comes in, like, she is already with the shit. She is already ready to be messy. So she comes through the door, and she does not waste any time. I mean, they're standing in the kitchen having a small conversation, and she immediately goes in on Kimmie, telling Kimmie how, she feels like she's being fake because she's still, communicating with the Holtz. And her loyalty should lie with her sister-in-law and her, family. She needs to choose family over friends. And, she's accusing Kimmie of running her mouth, to Melody. I don't know, running her mouth about what, but Kimmie was just like, wait a minute, ain't that the pot calling the kettle black? She was like, you kind of run your mouth more than anybody in this house. And, she was telling her, like, pump your brakes, because I'm not about that. I'm, that's not what I'm about. I don't do that. And so, she kind of shut the mom down in that moment, just kind of telling her, you got me messed up. I'm not with that. So they then move the party into the living room where the guys are, and they all sit and talk. And Marceau uses this opportunity again to bring up the run-in that he had with Melody. Excuse me, y'all. I'm sitting outside, and it is getting hot out here, and I'm sure you could tell I'm starting to glisten because it's warming up a little bit out here. But again, the house is loud, so I like to sit outside in peace and quiet. So we get to the discussion about Melody coming in, and she is, yelling, and she comes in on 10, she comes in on 100, I think that's what he said. And he was like, just so y'all know, she's accusing us putting some information out there, tax information out there. I don't think he mentioned the sex tape at that time, but he did mention, some stuff about the taxes. And so he, and I don't know how this will go over, but Kimmie made a joke. And I think that, you know, they're going to feel some kind of way about it in the future. He says, guess who comes, we're down at the site, and guess who comes into the switching down to the site, with a bone to pick or something. And so Kimmie goes, Martell, and everybody just busts out laughing. Now, I know Martell's gonna feel some kind of way about that when he hears it, and he'll probably address it. He may not, but I think Martell, he don't let stuff slide, and I think that he will kind of say something about that at the reunion. But we'll see what happens. But everybody has a good kiki, a good laugh about it, and so she's like, "I was just joking. It was just a joke." I'm like, "Okay, we gonna see how well that joke goes over with the Holts when they hear it." And so he's like, "No, it was Melody," and he tells them what happened. And so they then bring up, the upcoming birthday party that they're having for the child, and how they are considering, going. And Tisha's mom went off. Like, she was not about that. She was calling them, fake, or she was saying that they were being shady, and how basically, I'm guessing, she feels like they should sever ties with the Holts, and that they need to pick a side and stay on it. But I kind of feel like, okay, well, the beef is involving Marceau and Tisha and Martell and Melody. And if they want to come together for whatever reason, since it's between them, it shouldn't be anybody else's business. And Mom, I think she just kind of likes to keep the mess going just a little bit. And she reminds me a lot of my mom. So I can certainly relate to Tisha on so many levels of kind of wanting to just, as your mom, so, you tell her things and she has to be a part of things, but, mama can take it there, and Tisha doesn't necessarily want to take it there all the time, but mama stay ready. And Tisha's kind of like, okay, well, we about to, shut this conversation down. So she interrupts him with this beautiful nothing but cake, which I love their cakes. Their cakes are so good. I know that, we have a lot of them here in the South. I'm not sure. And I was actually born in Michigan. And so I'm from, the North, but we didn't have nothing but cakes in the North when I was growing up. And I don't even think that they're there now. But down here in the South, we have them, and they are so good. So she comes out with this birthday cake, and she kind of, kills that conversation, and everybody sings happy birthday to Kimmie. Kimmie's surprised. She was like, "Oh, this is for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, girl." So they sing happy birthday, and, she does that conversation because mama wasn't bending, and, her and Marceau had started getting into it, going back and forth, and Tisha just was like, "Okay, we need to end this now." So they sang happy birthday, and that was pretty much the end of the episode. Next episode, we'll see more of the other couple, Destiny and her husband. I think they're slowly trying to pull them into the fold, trying to, introduce them to the show, but we'll get to see them. And then we get to see the birthday party, I believe. And the Scotts do show up. And so there's this tension, and Melody and Tisha get to talk there. Now, if I left anything out, definitely feel free to, leave it in the comments. And, Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to. I thank you for kind of kicking it with me for this half hour about another good show. Um, Definitely, they are putting out a lot of good shows, and I just thank y'all for hanging out with me. And you all continue to enjoy the rest of your weekend and stay safe again. And bye bye.